So there are lots of comic creation sites out there that are available to you, but probably one of the easiest that I see people go back to over and over again is Make Beliefs Comics. Notice the spelling of comics.com. And when you get to that site, you're going to be kind of overwhelmed a little bit by the amount of stuff they have on here. The site is what I would call a little bit older school site, but it still works. And it does what it needs to do. So to create a comic, very simple. You go down, tell your students to click Create Your Comics, and it will load up a little interactive here for the students. They'll name their comic here. They'll put in their name here. And then you'll see earlier I was playing with one here. So I'm going to jump over to the second panel. And notice you can add and subtract panels here. And you can do a maximum of 9 panels. On the bottom of the screen is where you'll find all of your tools for adding characters, objects, backgrounds, etc. So usually we tell students to go in and start with backgrounds. So they would choose whatever they need for their story or whatever they're working on at that time. They click it, drop it in, and notice it dropped it into this panel because I had that panel selected. I'm going to go ahead and drop it into all 3 panels. All right, and then going back to my first panel now, I have a little dialog box that opens up beneath each one. So I'm going to go back to my bottom part now and click back, find my list of characters again, and I'm going to drop in this guy who's taking the selfie. And anytime you choose a character, they give you a couple of different poses for the character. So I'm going to drop him in. There he is. Now he's kind of in the foreground, which looks pretty cool with this comic. But if I do want to change his size or his scale at all, I'll just click down here on Scale, choose the character, and then I can scale. And that works for objects as well. Flipping a character, there's a flip button here, and then I can flip the character. So one thing that students have trouble with sometimes is they want to click the object or the character first, then come down here. It's kind of a reverse process. Tell them to choose the action first, and then you also have bring to front and deleting. Clicking back and then back again, you'll see that I also have masks. I have the very important part here, the content part that we really want, all of our balloons and prompts. So those work the same way as far as dragging and dropping, or selecting and dropping. So I'm going to do that one. One thing we used to point out to students a lot when we would do these is we would tell them a little bit about the broken arrow versus the intact arrow, and this one's a broken one, as you can see. I need to move this, and we would tell them that the broken one is a thought bubble, basically. They're not speaking that out loud, so he's wondering something here. Okay, and then you move on to your other panels, and you finish up your comic. Now, most of the time, the students will be able to complete this in one session. They would just click print, email, or save. And what will happen is it will load up a new screen. And on that new screen, they'll have a chance to go back and edit. They can just go ahead and create a new comics. They can save it, which is an option of printing or saving the image to their disk. If they choose that, it will save it right there. You'll see it just downloads it as a PNG file very quick. And then they can submit that to you through Google Classroom or shared folder, however, whatever you want. And then if you want them to be able to work on the comic over several days, they would hit this sign in to save online button. They will have to register, and they can register by just using a username and a password. Again, try to stick with something easy. Tell them to use their Google, the first part of their Google login and their Google password. Email address is optional, but it is not required. And that's it. That's Make Believe Comics in a nutshell.